Hello, Buff fans. As you just saw, we are dancing in Boulder.
Well, are the men really dancing?
Yeah, I mean, we're half in the dance. It's like me at prom. I like the dance, but not the mosh pit.
Well, at any rate, the women are in the NCAA tournament for the third straight season. Coming up, we have women basketball beat reporter Harrison Simeon and more.
The Colorado women's basketball team is in Manhattan, Kansas today, in the final preparation stages for their third consecutive March Madness run under head coach Gerra Payne. This year, however, feels different. CU started the year with a statement, taking down the reigning champion LSU Tigers and rolling all the way to number 3 in AP polls as recently as late January. Now, after dropping 6 of their last 8 games, that included a gut-wrenching loss on Senior Day to Washington State and a double overtime quarterfinal exit in their final Pac-12 tournament ever, the Buffs will not even get to open the tourney on home soil.
We will play what we'll get what we've earned. We didn't finish as strong as we needed to down the stretch, and I think the committee, that played a role in the decision.
Tasked with a brutal conference schedule throughout February, CU suffered several more heartbreaking losses during their slide, such as Utah at the buzzer. As a 5th seed, they'll open the NCAA tournament with a tough challenge against the Drake Bulldogs, one of the premier mid-major programs in the nation. Their reaction? Mixed, to say the least.
We put together a pretty tough schedule and went through a pretty tough gauntlet and did enough to it, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's out now and we know where we're going, so just get focused on Drake.
A win past this point would put CU in the round of 32 and likely a road environment against Kansas State. Even further, a possible rematch with Caitlin Clark and the first-seeded Iowa Hawkeyes. Despite these moments and situations of doubt, it's either now or never for the Black and Gold. They've been here before, overcoming upset talks against Middle Tennessee and shocking Duke in their own building just last season. The Buffs are no stranger to adversity. With a primary rotation consisting entirely of upperclassmen, this experienced core is ready for what feels like could be their last chance to win a championship together in one last big dance.
We feel great about what we have on our roster. We feel great about our experience. We believe that we can go win games, so that's the plan.
That women's game in the first round will be on Friday at 5 p.m. You can catch the game on ESPN News or follow our crew's coverage along live on social media from Kansas. For more on the matchup with Drake, here's our women's basketball beat writer Harrison Simeon once again.
What's up? I'm Harrison Simeon, and just last week before we were snowed out, I was preparing to give a Buff banner on the chances of Colorado women's basketball hosting their opening round games for the NCAA tournament. I personally believe we'd be seeing Gerra Payne, Jalen Sherrod, and company back in the CU Event Center this weekend, but the committee unfortunately disagreed. Boulder just barely missed the cut to become one of the 16 host cities as a 5 seed, and the Buffs are now out in Manhattan, Kansas, just one day away from a first-round matchup with 12-seeded Drake. The Bulldogs are one powerhouse of a 12 seed, though, blowing the doors off the Missouri Valley Conference this season en route to a 29-5 record. However, due to their status as a mid-major, they just barely got in the big dance with a buzzer beater in the MVC championship game. The Dogs will provide a high-octane, high-scoring test for the Black and Gold, as they rank 9th nationally in gamely scoring, 7th in field goal percentage, 2nd in two-point shot percentage, and 2nd in assists per game. CU's defense will have to lock in on 4 different double-digit scorers, led by junior Katie Dinnebeyer. The point guard was the Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year this past season, and is a 2-time All-MVC defensive team selection, averaging 18 points, 7 assists, and 2.5 steals a game on elite efficiency. She'll be the centerpiece of Drake's attack and defense that could be a handle for CU's guard rotation, specifically Sherrod and Kendall Wetta. Grace Berg packs a scoring punch on the wing, and center Anna Miller has been red hot as of late, averaging 20 points and 12.5 rebounds a game in her past 4. The Bulldogs play with a blazing quick pace, are extremely experienced, and may be underseeded at 12. While Colorado's defensive scheme has struggled against many of the Pac-12's offenses as of late, they lost just once in non-conference play and have a solid road record that could carry them through this tough test. Size could be another crucial factor, as Drake excels in rebounding and defending the rim, but lacked the dominant front court pair that the Buffs have in Aaronette Vonleh and Quay Miller. A win on Friday would put CU into the round of 32 again and against what will most likely be a road environment against 4th-seeded Kansas State. This game would be a preview of a possible Big 12 rivalry for next season and would be another massive obstacle for the Black and Gold. KSU has lost just one game at home for all of 2023-24, but the exact same was the case in CU's second-round win against Duke in overtime last March. If the Buffs manage to take down the Wildcats, this could very well set up a Sweet 16 rematch with Caitlin Clark and the first-seeded Iowa Hawkeyes, which will be played in Albany. But for now, tomorrow's duel with Drake at 5 on ESPN News is the hyper-focus of a Colorado team that started their campaign as one of the best stories in the nation, have had a laundry list of historic accomplishments throughout, but are now going dancing with a chip on their shoulder. I'm Harrison Simeon, sending it back to Alex and Nick at the desk.
Thank you again, Harrison. We are just a day away from the dance against Drake. Tournament play begins on Friday, where the Buffs will square off in Manhattan, Kansas at 5 p.m. Once again, be sure to tune in to the big day on ESPN News or follow along with the live updates on our socials.
Following the women's team, the men's team are dancing as well. We'll have that and more after the break.
And here's where it gets interesting.
Who wants to do basketball? Who wants to do football? Who wants to do soccer? Who wants to do volleyball?
That's so sick. Did Christian just say
Videography. Anyone want to do that?
The Colorado men's basketball team won a thriller in the first 4 on Wednesday night, defeating Boise State 60-53. The Buffs were led by Tristan Da Silva and KJ Simpson, who had 20 and 19 points respectively. The Buffs were leading by a narrow margin for most of the game when Boise State pulled ahead by 4 late. However, a steal and a layup from Simpson with 5 minutes left sparked a late charge for the Buffs, who held the Bronco offense to just 6 points in the final 5 minutes and 48 seconds of the game. The win is the second NCAA tournament win for the Buffs in the past 4 seasons, and now travel to Indianapolis to take on the Florida Gators on Friday.
Tonight's win was the 25th of the season, a program record for the Buffaloes, led by first-team All-Pac-12 nominee KJ Simpson. The Buffs have won 9 of their last 10 games to propel them to the big dance, and this year was the first time that the Buffs won 6 straight conference games since 1997, and the first time winning the final 6 conference games of the season since 1955.
Yeah, there's a lot to be proud of, Alex, but now we have to focus on the Florida Gators tomorrow, where the Buffs will hopefully advance further into the round of 32. To secure this win, though, the Buffs will need to be looking out for Walter Clayton Jr., who leads the team in points with an average of about 17 per game, and Tyrese Samuel, who leads the team in rebounds with about 7.5 on average each game. The Gators finished their conference season 11-7, while the Buffs finished 13-7. We've got a good stand-in with KJ Simpson leading in average points at almost 20 per game, just above Clayton Jr. However, we fall just below Samuel with Eddie Lampkin Jr. averaging 7.1 rebounds for the Buffs per game. We're excited to see how this game plays out, and hopefully they can advance so we can keep rooting for them and cover more of the Buffs this March Madness.
The National Association of Basketball Coaches All-District Honors were released this week. KJ Simpson was elected to first team and is written in as the 11th Buff ever to make the team. The point guard stands alone as the only major conference player that averages over 19 points a game on top of 5 rebounds and dishing 4 assists. Although his success wasn't enough to earn All-American honors, Simpson was snubbed, and even McKinley Wright tweeted a lol, but there is a silver lining, as Simpson wasn't alone in earning a spot on the All-Pac-12 tournament team. Tristan Da Silva snagged a spot last weekend as well.
What's up, Buff fans? As most of you know, there's been a lot of snow recently. 2 snow days, St. Patrick's Day, and of course our NCAA championship win. I had the amazing opportunity to join the Buffs at Howelson Hill in Steamboat, Colorado, and wow, this was truly a historical win. This was the first national title for CU since 2018 and the first natty for the ski team since 2015. CU had a historic final day comeback from a 51-point loss, beating the Utes by 2 points. Not only was this the closest NCAA history, but it dethroned the Utes from their 5-year win streak. But only so many words can represent the feeling that was in Steamboat. Let's take a look at the cinematic recap from the weekend.
Excellent, guys. Great job. Great job. Great
Think of the win. I think it's incredible. Yana's first year winning a national title, the way those 3 guys skied to finish it, I mean, unbelievable. And the women, they ran a great race this afternoon earlier, and great day for the Buffs.
Well, Alex, I mean, what a historical weekend from the Buffs. That gave me goosebumps. You know, it makes me proud to be at this college. You know, Talus is probably the best Sko Buffs Sports member and possibly the best skier. I cannot imagine how cool it would have been to be there. But if you're interested in learning more about the Buffs win, though, check out our website at SkoBuffSports.com for that amazing national championship win.
The Buffalo's Pro Day took place on Tuesday. College athletes from CU and other local schools performed for pro scouts in hopes of playing NFL football. Wide receiver Javon Antonio, linebacker Juwan Mitchell, former CU quarterback Blake Stenstrom, and 7 other players participated. Roderick Ward had the quickest 40-yard dash at 4.47 seconds, and the highest broad jump coming in at 10 feet 6 inches. Ward isn't expected to be drafted into the NFL, but the CFL was there and several Buffs have succeeded in the past up north. One standout at Pro Day was Derek McClendon, who performed so well on his physicals and plays that he's been further scouted by 4 teams in the NFL and has actually been invited to a further scouting opportunity with the Atlanta Falcons. The Buff who is expected to be in the NFL who just graduated is Xavier Weaver. He did not participate due to a shoulder injury. This event next year will be a lot bigger as Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter will hope to bolster their 2025 NFL draft stock.
The director of player personnel, Chandler Dorrell, announced on Monday that he would be leaving the staff from Colorado football. The son of former head coach Carl Dorrell, Chandler was one of the last on staff to stay with the Buffs after the momentous transition. The change when Coach Prime became the Buffs head coach, that is.
NFL free agency started this week, and 2 Colorado alumni players have been part of transactions already. Linebacker Nate Landman re-signed with the Atlanta Falcons on a 3-year, $2.6 million deal after he had a breakout year in 2023 and established himself as an important piece of Atlanta's defense. Up in Green Bay, the Packers released David Bakhtiari, who earned second-team All Pac-12 honors twice at Colorado. He's had one of the best pro careers of any Buffs, posting 5 All-Pro seasons in his career.
The Buffs women's lacrosse team faced off in a tough battle with the Stanford Cardinal last Friday afternoon. Due to weather, the game was moved from Kittredge Field to the indoor practice facility, putting both teams on even ground for the Buffs Pac-12 opener. The first half was a highly defensive matchup, with neither team making big offensive strides, but it finished with both teams tied at 6. Then in the third quarter, the floodgates opened for the Cardinal, who blew the game wide open and brought their lead to near double digits. After the third quarter explosion from Stanford, head coach Ann Elliott Whitten made the decision to swap goalkeepers, taking Danielle Heinz out in favor of Cameron Stoner. The fourth quarter saw the makings of a comeback for the Buffs, who scored 2 goals in 3 minutes, along with a few saves from Stoner, but Stanford's consistency, winning them in draws, took them in control and won 18-12. The Black and Gold are back in action this weekend, taking on California in Berkeley on Saturday at 2 p.m. They dropped 1 spot in the week's IWCLA rankings to number 20.
Jana Weinberger, a coach for the Nordic ski team, became the second person in school history to win a national championship as a student athlete and a coach. That brings us to this week's trivia question. Who was the first and the only other person to win a title as an athlete and coach? We'll have that answer coming up later in the show.
Hello, welcome to Rapid Fire. I'm your host, Britney Garcia. Starting off, the women's basketball team on Friday will be traveling to Manhattan, Kansas for the first round of March Madness against Drake. The game is at 5 p.m. Then the track and field team will have meets in Pueblo, Colorado and San Diego, California on Friday and Saturday. Then on Saturday at 1 p.m., the tennis team will be competing against Stanford in California. The lacrosse team will be playing at California at 2 p.m. on Saturday. Well, that's it for this week's Rapid Fire. Once again, I'm Britney Garcia. Back to you guys at the desk.
That brings us to this week's trivia question. Just a few moments ago, we asked you, who was the first person in CU history to win a national championship both as a player and a coach? That person is, drumroll please, Tim Hinderman, who won the national championship as head coach back in 1979. Both him and Jana Weinberger are 2 of 3 coaches in school history to win a national championship in their first season as head coach.
Thank you, Alex. And now that brings us to the social media post of the week. This time around, we saw Derek White wearing a Coach Prime-themed t-shirt in his walkout tunnel ahead of the Celtics game this week. It worked out, though, as a few days later, the Boston guard tallied his first pro triple-double. The Buffaloes alum has showed his support for this program in the year since he's graduated, and he even sports a black and gold colorway shoes when he plays here in Colorado.
Well, it seems like every journalist has to share their opinions on the madness. We might as well jump in and share ours too. Nick, who do you have in your women's Final Four?
Well, Alex, I don't just pick my teams normally. I have a method. Coin toss for the first round, then who would win in a mascot battle for the second. So that means no Hawkeye or a Gamecock would win. And then I asked Siri who would win the Sweet 16 winners. I play on from there and got this. Now, without context, this looks awful. I have Oklahoma, Utah, Colorado, and USC in the Final Four. But at a second glance, I don't think that's that unrealistic. I think the Pac-12 goes down swinging this year, and Juju Watkins leads the Trojans to her first trophy.
Well, I make my predictions based on who I think is going to win. But that doesn't mean I take risky picks. For example, I have FGCU beating Oklahoma and the 35-1 Fairfield Stags beating Indiana and FGCU to get to the Sweet 16. Now for my Final Four, I have South Carolina playing Stanford and Iowa playing Ohio State, meeting in Cleveland. I think Caitlin Clark gets to the title game again and this time beats South Carolina for the Natty.
That makes a lot more sense than a coin toss. Thank you, Alex. But now for the men's tournament, and I have to say for this one, I think my picks look a lot more realistic. The coin eliminated Houston, and thankfully a Husky is good in battle. So with that, I get UConn, Arizona, Kentucky, and Purdue. I know Arizona and Purdue are risky, but their competition got eliminated either by a coin or they lost in battle. But I kind of like these picks.
As for me, I always have a tough time picking the Final Four. The unpredictable nature of the tournament always makes things difficult for me when regarding my Final Four. But I ended up going with what you picked, Nick. UConn, Arizona, Kentucky, and Purdue. With UConn and Purdue meeting in the title game, and of course, it's been so hard to pick against the Huskies all year, so I have them repeating as national champions.
Yeah, that's a good point, Alex. But I just hope I do better than Jonathan, the UConn Husky, who picked all the dog teams to win it this year.
Unsurprising.
But, yeah, so hope I do better than him.
Well, that's all we've got on this episode of Sko Buffs Sports. I'm Alex Roberts.
And I'm Nick Evans.
And you heard it here first on Sko Buffs Sports. Sko Buffs.